its history. What is this enigmatic country? We have here an expert on that area in Afghanistan, and we're going to shed some lights on the history of Afghanistan and how did we get into where we are here now. We have Professor Iraji Bashir. He's a professor of history at the University of Minnesota, and he was born in Iran, and he is really specialized on Central Asia, and he a lot of history. His CV here is really few pages, but you can check that on our website. But we need to just first, we would like to welcome you, Professor Bashiri, to BelAhdan. Very nice of you to come. And we don't really have, we don't usually have somebody with your caliber of expertise come and talk about.
Well, thank you very much.
We are very amateur when it comes to, but you know, Afghanistan, you know, it's a, you know, we know everything about the Arabs and Iran, and
exactly.
You know, we know Israel's, and you know, Israel is a 60 million people. What we know about here more than we know about Canada, for instance.
Right.
But what about Afghanistan, which is really where, you know, the new challenge for Americans, if I can say.
I think the new challenge for Americans is going to be in Afghanistan, Iran, and Pakistan.
It's not.
It's
not Palestine or.
Well, those are related. Those
yes.
are related, but
okay.
the movement, I think, will be more in that direction. Now, Afghanistan has a history of its own, and most recent history, I think, we should go back to when the British started their empire and started to move north.
That's where the history comes from
That is
England.
where it comes from, and it's called the Great Game, whereby almost like moving pieces, the British started to move up, and the Russians, at that time, the Russian Empire, from St. Petersburg, moving down, they came in the middle to Afghanistan. They almost had the First World War at that time.
Even before the First War?
Even before the First World War.
So the time frame is what?
The thing, late 19th century.
Okay.
Then they did the wonderful thing of creating a neutral zone, which is now Afghanistan, and the British stayed in the south and dealt with the foreign relations of the region, and the Russians stayed north and dealt with the economics and so forth, and there was this modus vivendi between the two. And what that did, that created a great deal of difficulty for people of the region, is that they drew a line through the northern tribes, if you like, the Tajiks, the Uzbeks, the Turkmens. Half of them are in the north and half of them in the south of this line. And they also drew a line south, right in the middle of the Pushtun land.
When you say a line, that means a physical line, or that's
a border.
A border that is controlled, nobody can move?
Political border,
Political
not
border.
known as such, but a political border that divided these people, gave half of them to what would be Afghanistan and half to eventually what would become Pakistan.
Oh.
So these people, as of then, were kind of divided. And when the Soviet Union came, they helped the Afghans rid themselves of the British. And this is the early days of the Soviet Union when this is happening. And they helped the Afghans over the years. They built a great deal of installations, airports, I don't know, flour mills, tunnels, roads, everything.
For the Afghanis?
For the Afghanis.
Interesting.
All the way to the 60s.
They're not the Mujahideen then?
Not yet. Not yet. But they were building for something.
Yeah.
Now we can see.
Strategically.
But what it was, at that time, was not clear, that they were building all of these things. And gradually, I think they were moving Afghanistan in the direction of the Soviet Union. You could say Afghanistan would be their first Muslim land included in the Soviet lands.
Oh, I see, yes.
So gradually they moved into the schools, and by the 60s we had enough students in Afghanistan to start universities and bring people from Afghanistan to the Soviet Union to educate them, and many went and came back. And Afghanistan made a lot of progress. even before the coming of the Soviets. If you went to Kabul, it was a beautiful city. I haven't been to Kabul. I studied it, I've seen pictures of it. It's a beautiful city. It was a beautiful city, I should say.
You mean cosmopolitan?
Cosmopolitan.
Really? I'm not trying to put it down, but it seems like...
Under King Zahir Shah.
That's not what we see on CNN, or...
No, but there are... I have slides of those days that sometimes I look at and say, well, this is Kabul. This is what Kabul used to be. This is what Kabul is today.
Yeah, I see.
So when the Soviets became really involved, and these people came back from there, and they started to interfere into the social fabric of Afghanistan, that the Muslims did not like that. So we have the beginning of what we have going on now at that time.
So when the Soviet Union was, when Russia and then and the Soviet Union were taking an interest in that area, was that under the radar of the Cold War and how the Americans was dealing with it?
It was. Well, Americans knew that this is going on, but it was helping the Afghans in the same way that America was helping others.
I see.
In fact, Afghans wrote the Americans a number of times to come and help, and they always felt that there is nothing really for us there. There was no oil, there was no resources.
Yeah,
so
let the Russians
sometimes they wrote a nice letter that we are very happy that you are there, but they did not really consider that part of the world.
Oh, I see. Yeah, they didn't take interest.
Beyond Iran.
I see.
Of great interest. So when the Soviets started to be moving more rigorously, if you like, strongly into Afghanistan,
it's working for them.
Then people started to react to that.
I see.
When they started to bring in Soviet-type life, communism, socialism, equal number of villages, one village. You cannot have 500 or 300 villages, 200 villages. You cannot have this, you cannot have that. We have to share.
I see.
And then people started to question. First, they liked it, of course. If you don't have a house and they give you a house, you would